Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. I'm at Cedar Falls Museum, Textile Museum, the old post office, Deep River's over that way. Now, at least a month ago and maybe closer to 2 months ago, I showed you a couple of videos where I was surprised that one day I came down here to visit that, and there were new poles being put in. They were just poles, and they had 3 things on them. And then I came back later and I took you for a ride, even down there, to show you how far it went up to the curve. Now remember, my camera doesn't have autofocus and it doesn't have telephoto. And what I'm going to show you I've seen for the very first time in my life, and I'm going to explain it to you. There was somebody down here mowing, and probably the one that says, if you leave trash, you and somebody has broken our trash, but both signs are intact on that pole. Now there's a box here. Imprint is SCL. There's a lock on it. This is a no-touch visit. And what we see is 2 cables. Okay? And we see the ground wire. And this is fairly recent. This supports this, that supports it there. I have my opinion about things sticking out like that. Now, the ground wire and the shielded cable and the unshielded cable go up there. Now, I'm going to give the camera a chance to adjust to looking up. Let me explain what's going on. The lowest wire is the neutral return. That's what it's called. Now, up top, just like in front of my house, there are 3 main power carriers. They come from down there, they cross the river and came over this side, and they go down there. Why is this pole different? What's all this crap up here? The stuff over on this side are circuit breakers. And these are some kind of shut-off, shut-on automatic. If you take a look, you'll see that there are 3. I'm talking about the reddish-purple boots and whatever those actuators are at the bottom. There's 3 of them, just as there's 3 main power carriers. Now, if you look up further, on the pole there are insulators that guide separate wires. And up here at the top wire, it's interrupted by an insulator, and there's a wire to each side of it. And then the second one down there is interrupted by an insulator with a wire to each side of it, and then the lowest one is the same deal. It's very elaborate. What is it? Well, this is a part, I'm going to guess that it's actually not only self-healing. They'll come out eventually and put a sign on here that says self-healing, which means you don't have to reset the circuit breakers by hand. They'll be done automatically. But I have a feeling that some of this, like my power meter at home. All of my life, people had to come to my house once a month. They didn't knock on the door. They knew where the power meter was. They took a reading, wrote it down, and then a week later, whatever, they would mail the power bill by subtracting the current kilowatt hours used versus a month ago. But now it's done automatically by a radio frequency signal that goes over the power lines. It radios it back. They can see what my current setting is by asking my meter. Just like the internet has addresses, the power meters on my house has an address. It's the same protocol. So why did I go on to that? If for some reason the power company feels there's a need to cut them off, whatever down there, they can do it. And they can tell also whether or not something has happened and the circuit breakers have been actuated. And what you might look for is, do they keep getting actuated because there's some kind of periodic short circuit down there, like a tree in the wind shorting out the wire, shorting out the wires, shorting out the wires, but not breaking them. Modern technology. So that's the next step, or the final step in what they were doing here, that I started a month or 2 months ago when I noticed that they had just put up those poles, and I knew they were going to construct something here. And if you want to look back in history to when this mill was active, you look at something like this, and you look at something like this. It's not a fire hydrant, it's a drain, or something like that. Maybe it was part of the water system because there used to be stores here 100 years ago. Steve A.B. Forial giving his interpretation of what this new thing is. And if you've got a better explanation and can explain it even better, feel free to go at it in the comments. Steve A.B. Forial, just loving it, saying see you in 73.